Hi, Caroline. Nice to see you today.
Hi, nice to see you. I'm happy to be here.
Well, so I say we jump right in and get started with today's interview. First of all, thank you so much for being here today and for doing this and hopefully giving some insights into what has happened after you've left HHL. So first question is, after your part-time master at HHL, how did that influence your professional career?
So, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here, and I hope I can give some valuable insights for everyone who's listening. I have two things that, HHL really gave me after I finished the program. And one thing I was expecting, and the other thing I wasn't expecting at all. First of all, it's helped me to broaden my horizon, to meet new people, to get new insights, of course, to learn a lot of new things about how businesses work in different scales. That was also what I was expecting, and that was fulfilled, luckily. And the other thing is, it actually gave me more focus. So after HHL, I also changed my job, and I also changed not completely the subject I'm working in right now, but it just shifted my perspective on what I was doing at that time. And it helped me to reflect on myself and what I actually want to do, how I want to spend my time, and how, I can have the most impact. So, that was surprising to me. And I'm quite happy about that.
Oh, very interesting. Thanks for sharing so openly. And indeed, that does sound a bit surprising. But I'm also happy to hear that the master, as you expected, covered the basics and gave you also a lot of frameworks and things to think about, even still in your current job. What I'm curious about, after all, is what your current role at DM entails, since you said that you've also changed your career path a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah, so I work at DM now. I'm an internal consultant for process management in the finance and controlling department. So before I was head of finance in a startup-like company. So the finance part is still with me, fortunately. But now I'm more on the consulting side. And I look at the processes from a different viewpoint. Also, we work internationally. So the scale is just a bit different, and the perspective as well.
Hey, very interesting. Thanks for sharing. And especially DM being such a big company, and you said the scale is different, of course, compared to a small startup. I think in many dimensions it's probably different. And everybody always says that in big corporates, networking is an important aspect. How has that impacted you personally? Has networking and maybe even a mentorship, did you have a mentor, impacted your career? And if you say yes, that you have some, or maybe you have some insights on networking, I think that would also be very interesting to share how you can build a supportive professional network.
Yeah, for sure. So the networking part has always been important for me. So even before DM, even before coming to HHL, actually, I think it was my network that brought me to HHL in the first place, because I know an alumni. And she told me all about HHL. This is why I attended the program in the first place. I'm experienced with networking, and I think everyone is. It's just also a point of perspective. If you actually understand what you're doing when you talk to people, when you ask good questions, and when you get to know different insights on various topics. So that helped me during my career in general. I also had a mentor at the job I had before DM, and he gave me a lot of insights, and he pushed me. He was my advocate, so he really believed in me, and he gave me also a push to go to HHL actually, which I'm quite happy and thankful for. And so I think networking in general helps you to broaden your horizon and to get to know different life paths as well, different viewpoints, how the business world actually works. So if you are in a position where you are not quite sure if you want to study or if you want to work, if you want to do both, or if you want to change career paths as I did, then speaking to other people can really help you. And yeah, I think if you're lucky to find a mentor, then that gives you even more valuable insights. And yeah, I mean, you can do some things for that as well, but yeah, it's also it's quite a challenge to find a good mentor, in my opinion.
Definitely. Is there anything in specific now, being in the working world for quite some time yourself? Any advice that you have, maybe especially for women who are just starting out in the business world and who are still trying to find their footing, maybe without a mentor, like you had one who pushed you? Is there any general advice that you could give to women specifically?
Yeah, I think no matter if it comes to network in general or to finding a mentor, maybe it's quite simple, but also complex or complicated, because I think it's important to make it less abstract, because network sounds so big, and finding a mentor also sounds really big. And yeah, be clear or become clear about what you actually want with that. So what do you need? Do you need specific information on one topic, or do you want to know how it is like to be in a certain job? Because that already gives you some direction, what events to attend for network, or what people to speak to when it comes to mentorship. And also make it less abstract for the other person when we talk about mentorship, because I think a lot of people also don't really know how to be a good mentor. And I think there also it's important to communicate what you need, how the relationship could look like. In my experience, it's great if you have someone who really speaks up for you. So make sure that the person you ask to be your mentor, for example, believes in you, knows you a bit, so that you can really define the relationship together. So I think these were quite a few points in this direction.
Very interesting. Thanks for those insights. And I'm definitely there with you, and I agree with you that sometimes breaking down a big challenge makes it more feasible and makes it less abstract, as you said. And then, of course, it's easier to tackle it if it seems like a smaller problem or multiple small problems at a time. I think that's very helpful, especially if you're starting your career and everything feels like a very big challenge. And then something that we haven't touched upon yet and haven't talked about is also the environment. And then, of course, some environments are more supportive with mentors, but in general, just open company cultures. But it can sometimes feel also a little bit exclusive and not that, open. And coming back to the topic, I mean, after all, we make an interview series for the Women in Business initiative at HHL. Maybe if there's anything you could share from your personal experience, what are the key elements in creating a maybe more inclusive and more empowering workplace? Because now you're not starting anymore, you're not starting out anymore. But I, looking back myself, remember that it was quite daunting, especially as a young woman in the workforce. How could you do that? What values could you actively promote?
Yeah, that's a really good and important question. Yeah, I would sum it up with two, maybe three words. So establish a feedback culture is, in my opinion, one of the most important things that you can do, you can help establish in a company. And I said three words because I think it's important to have a healthy feedback culture, and that everyone can promote and help establish. no matter if it's a work environment or university environment, even a family environment, just to get used to giving feedback, but also receiving feedback, because that helps you to understand yourself better, understand others better. That helps you also to set objective criteria on how to give feedback and also on what you're giving feedback. And that also helps especially women who sometimes maybe think they have to act a certain way, or society tells them you are like that or you're not like that, and you can do this and you cannot do that. It helps women especially to build a healthy confidence. And with that, I don't mean that they need to be dependent on the applause of others or the general, nice words that others have to say about them, but really have constructive feedback and get that, and just build a healthy self-confidence and just know what I'm able to do, maybe also what I'm not able to do, what I want to do, and just bring the pictures that you have of yourself and the pictures that others have of you closer together.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts. That's definitely thought-provoking, and I think a lot of context, like you said, not just work related, but also university, or maybe even in the private part of your lives, that you say, okay, I take this feedback culture back to a family setting. It's definitely very helpful, and I think we would all benefit from having a bit more honesty and transparency, and also, yeah, not being critical, but just being good at feedback giving and receiving, also not taking it personal. So yeah, very interesting and thought-provoking answer. Thank you. Last question, actually, if we both look a little bit into the future, what changes do you hope to see in the business world for the next generation, so to say, of women? So young aspiring females who are just starting out in the professional world, what do you hope to see a change for them? Maybe some challenges you faced personally, or maybe not challenges personally, but that you know that are there for women. How do you hope that the work environment changes?
Yeah, I hope that in the future, everyone, not especially not only women, but everyone takes part in creating workspaces where you can actually combine or integrate family and business or job with each other. Because I think that is still one of the most important aspects when you make the decision, okay, do I want to pursue a career? Do I just want to do a job, 9 to 5, close my laptop and just go home? How do I set my goals? Do I set a stretching goal, or is it just good enough? Because I think women do give birth. That's just the natural thing that happens. And I think still it leads to many women staying home longer than men. And I think it's just logical that then women have more difficulties in building a career that is long lasting and successful. So I do hope that everyone really tries to take their part in creating flexible working environments, inclusive working environments, where just different life and family models can find their place, and you don't have to decide in between having a family or pursuing a career, but you can actually take these two and they will go hand in hand.
Yeah, thanks again. I think that's definitely one of the right ways forward. And I think we've seen some positive change already. Maybe to close with something positive, I think COVID also gave some of us more flexibility here, and it has shown that also remote work is possible. So I also hope that in the future we will see more different working models, which are just more flexible in general, like you said, more inclusive. So thank you very much. Let's end on this positive note, and thank you for sharing your insights.
Happy to be here. It's always good to be back at HHL.
Hope to see you in person again soon at the campus. Bye.
Bye.